Hello everyone and welcome to the May free class. So this class is one that you can earn for free with a $75 purchase. It's open to anyone to earn this class. So as I mentioned, just a $75 order and you'll earn the free class that will be run the following month. So for this month, I wanted to use some new product which this sweet is called Turtley Cute. I don't normally do cutesy. I actually kind of avoid it because they're not cards that I use a lot of. So this sweet does have a stamp set and a coordinating die bundle. There's embellishments ribbon. There's also an embossing folder plus designer series paper. Now, the only thing I've gotten so far out of this suite is the designer series paper. There are some really cute images here, and I would have shown you the whole sheets of the designer series paper, but they're packed away ready for retreat, and I'm not sure which box I ended up in. I forgot to grab them out earlier. So I'm going to hold this catalogue up just a little bit, and this is on page 49 of the catalogue. So if you want to be able to make a few cute cards, but don't necessarily want to have the outlay for the whole suite, just grab yourself some of the designer series paper. This one just down here, down the bottom, they're actually little panels that you can cut out and use on a card front. So they are really cute papers. One side, of course, we've got the little turtle images. The other side of the patterns are a little bit more versatile. Okay, so let's get started. So for tonight's class, all I'm using is Simply Said stamp set, which is from the annual catalogue. This photopolymer stamp set costs $30. Okay, so I've got a very, very well used set. And the other thing I'm using as well is a garden greening pad. As long as you have a sentiment stamp to use for this and a greening pad, these projects will come together really easily. Okay, so here is the first card. Now, this one isn't my design. I actually saw this, someone had shared their card, so I don't think, this was inspired, I just got here, inspired by Create with Celine. So have a search for Create with Celine and you'll see this card there. It's just that I struggled a little bit when I first started using this paper, so I do rely on Pinterest a little bit to get some ideas. Okay, so the products that you will have in your packet. Of course, you'll have the envelope. There is a piece of soft seafoam, which is half a sheet for the base. For the inside, a piece of white that measures 10 centimeters by 14.4. For the outside, there are a few different pieces. Okay, so we've got garden green, and this one measures 9 by 13.4. And then we've got, what have we got next? Then we have got the 8.5 by 12.9 and 8 by 12.4 with the soft sea foam. I've also got 3 of the different strips. So we've got one at, so this is 8 centimeters. So I've got one at 8 by 3. We've got 8 by 2.5 and 8 by 2. So they've just gone down in half centimeter intervals. You'll also have one of the little turtles, and this is the party themed one. And so I've got the one with the cake. This time I've got the one with the present, and also a piece of white baker's twine. So this card is quite an easy one to put together. Okay, so let's get started. So folding the card base in half and use your bone folder. And I think I'll finish off the inside straight away. So this is sticking the 10 centimeter by 14.4 centimeter piece of white inside the card base. Okay, just pop that aside for the moment. My next bit I'm going to do, let me just put this just there so you can see, and I'll work here. So next I'm going to be sticking my 3 strips of the Designer Series paper on. You can choose any order for these that you like. Let me see how I've done that. Okay, and I have left just a little gap at the top. Okay, so there's the first one, and as mentioned, stick them on any order you like. And also, of course, just a reminder, if you're using Stampin' Seal, just remember that little tick to break the stream of the adhesive. There's the second one, and number 3. I have left just a couple of millimeters between each of the pieces of Designer Series paper, so there is a little piece or a little bit of the soft sea foam showing in between each piece of the Designer Series paper. And there's the final one. You may have to trim just a small amount off the end. So I normally just use scissors for this, but you can also use your paper trimmer if you prefer. Okay, I'm going to do my stamp next, which I'm using, oh, move that one out the way, which I'm using Garden Green, and I am going to make this one a birthday wishes. Hi Gay, thank you for joining me. I keep getting a message saying that my internet connection is a little slow, so I hope everyone who's watching it's not flickering or anything silly. Okay, so Garden Green ink, and just down in the corner. So very simple stamping with both of the cards for tonight. So those who are playing along, I hope you're keeping up okay. With the piece of the baker's twine, I'm actually going to just be tying a little knot rather than the bow that I would normally do. So to do that, to get my length, I have held the baker's twine at one end and moved across to the other, and then I've doubled that. That gives you the amount that you need to do this little tie here. So I'm going to have a loop to begin with, and I'm going to do a reef knot, which is right over left, and tuck it under, and then left over right and tuck that under through that little loop there, and then grab hold of all 4 and pull. The reason I do a reef knot is because the little tails, they hang out nice to each side rather than one sticking up and down. So that's obviously not going to fit around that that piece of card. So I'm going to hold my knot off to the right hand side. I'm just going to put my finger on the top of the knot and then draw the thread out and snip. That way then you have enough of the baker's twine to tuck behind and stick with some sticky tape. Okay, so I'll go ahead and do that bit now. And for those who may not have seen baker's twine or ribbon tied like this before, do pop back and watch this part of the video again, because it is a really handy technique to know. So there is that piece there. Hi Jody, thanks for joining me. So next is, I haven't done any cutting out ahead of time because this being, of course, the free class, I wanted to try to do it all in as real time as possible. So the next step is to fussy cut out the cute little turtle image that you have. You may have the same one that I've got. There's a few different different turtles. I think there's one that's got a balloon, and they've got the cake. And there were other ones as well. I just can't remember what they are. As I mentioned, I'm not sure which box I have put all the papers in when I packed up for retreat today. So in my craft room, it's looking a bit bare, but I have got piles of boxes along the wall and on the other side of my table here. So I have, had one of those really busy days just pulling all of the last things together. So my craft room doesn't look like it's a huge mess. There's just lots of boxes piled everywhere. Okay, so there are a couple of bits on some of these images that are a little bit fine, like just going around the turtle's glasses. Take your time. Okay, almost done. All right, last little bit. And I'm not going to worry too much about cutting up that little bit there just between his two legs. I think that's a little bit too tight to be cutting in there. Okay, so let's move along. I do have my piece of garden green. I can't remember the measurement. Let me check the measurement here. So this one is 9 by 13.4. And my piece of white that's going to mat over the top is 8.5 by 12.9. I think I got that right. 12.9. I am a little bit tired tonight, so after spending a lot of hours working, and I've also been baking today as well, which I always enjoy doing that. My brain is a little bit fried now, so far so good for tonight. So we'll see how the rest of the video goes. Okay, so I've just stuck those two pieces together with Stampin' Seal, and again I'm going to use Stampin' Seal to stick this element onto the card front. Okay, so there is a little bit more space around this than what I normally would have, because normally my mats go almost all the way to the edge of the card front. Okay, and this layer here with Designer Series paper, I'm going to put this on with dimensionals. Okay. And again, as always, I am using the mini dimensionals. All right, just a couple more, and then I think that'll be enough. And of course, the quickest way to get the little paper backings off is just stab into the back of the dimensional with the piercing tool. There we go. Okay, so again, this is going to be centered over the top, and I hope I'm kind of getting it sort of in the right spot, because I'm sitting a little further back than what I normally would when I'm making a card. I like it to be sort of a little bit closer to me, so I'm a little bit more over the top of the card. Okay, so finally, to finish this card off, because I've also, of course, finished the inside off, I'm going to use dimensionals again to stick the turtle on. Oops. Probably using a few too many dimensionals, but that's okay. I'd rather there be enough on him to stick him properly to the card front. Okay. And the turtle's going to go around about there. So a really cute kids card. This is the first one of the two using the Turtley Cute Designer Series paper. I think pretty sure that's what it's called. Let me just double check. I can't even find it. Let me see. Oh yes, Turtley Cute Designer Series paper. So it does come in 12 by 12 and cost is $21.75. So to make some cute kitty cards, it's an easy way of going. Okay, so that is card number 1. Card number 2 has a little bit of a music sort of theme to it. I have used dies from actually 2 sets of dies. Stylish Shapes, which is one of my favourite, probably all-time favourite die sets, which I use all the time. And the other one with this piece of the Designer Series paper, this almost diamond shaped one. This is called Nested Essentials. Both of these die sets are still available. And I'm pretty sure both of them are in the annual catalogue, and or if one of them isn't, it's still available through the online exclusives. With the pearls, they've been coloured in ahead of time using a real red, I'm not sure actually, now I can't remember if it's real red or Poppy Parade alcohol marker to give it that bright red. Okay, so let me show you what we've got in the kit. So the base is the half sheet of thick white A4, which I have scored. This is crushed curry, which measures, or 2 of which measure 10 centimetres by 14.4. I have 2 white, same size, 9.5 by 13.9. Thank you, Gay. I'm glad you like the cards. I've got my die cuts. So I've got a few different coloured circles to make this card. Okay, so they're just from the Stylish Shapes. I also have a strip of white, and this is 1.5 centimetres by 12. Okay, so that does allow it to go almost across the whole card front. And as I mentioned, I have coloured in the pearls with the alcohol marker ahead of time, so you'll have those nice bright pearls. And from the Designer Series paper again, one of the very whimsical and musical turtles. Okay, so let's get on with making this card, because there are a few little pieces, but nothing too difficult. Again, the sentiment is the yay from Simply Said, and again I am using garden green. Okay, so to begin with, folding your card in half. And for those who have the kits with you, as always, I will be sharing the replay straight away, so you'll be able to go back and watch anything that you may have missed. Okay, I think I'll finish the inside first. So I do have my piece of crushed curry. As I mentioned earlier, this measures 10 centimetres by 14.4, and my piece of white 9.5 centimetres by 13.9. Okay, so stamp and seal to stick these 2 pieces together. There we go. And again, stamp and seal, and I'm going to stick this inside the card base. Okay, so that's the inside taken care of. The next step I'm going to do, I want to stick down some of these elements underneath. So before I actually stick anything down, I am going to be sitting my Nested Essentials die cut on there first, just so that I can then slide in each of the pieces. So we've got the white circle and we've got the red ones one about there, and the green one. And of course you can place these, I think that's a little lower actually. I think that's a bit better. So you can place these wherever you would like them to go, but I do encourage you just to sit everything roughly where you want it to go before you start sticking down. And the green goes up the top around about there. So before I take all of that off, I'm actually going to be using some of the Tombow, and then one die cut at a time, I'm going to get some Tombow on and stick each of them down. And that way then I can gently lift up the other pieces and slide underneath these other ones. So the little red circle, that will go in about there. So it's just holding on to the pieces that haven't been stuck down first and just gently sliding out your other pieces. So round about there, and then we've got the red circle, which will slide under there and round about there. So as you can see, when you're doing it this way, it does come together really quickly. With the green, I'm only putting the adhesive just on half or a little over half so that I can stick that down, and I will trim that off. And finally, the last piece is the die cut, or the final die cut, which goes around about there. So you can play around with where you put the circles in each of these elements. It's whatever you like the look of. I've always liked the look of the layering that you can get or you can build up with this sort of card. Okay, so let me trim off just that top little bit of the circle. Okay, I think I'm going to stick this onto the piece of I can't think of the colour. It'll come to me. Crushed curry. So I'm going to stick these two together, and I'm going to go back and use my stamp and seal. So this one, the only dimensionals I've actually used on this card are underneath the turtle. Everything else is stuck down flat. And I think I'll also go ahead and stick this onto the card front while I'm going. See how I go getting it on straight. No, I think that's okay. I'll live with that. Not quite even, but close enough too. Okay, next bit I'm going to do, I want to just stamp my sentiment. So this is the strip that's 1.5 centimeters by about 12 centimeters. Again, simply said, and I'm going to be using just one of the little stamps that say yay. Okay, so, oops, it's stuck on very crooked. All right, and again, garden green. So with this one being photopolymer stamp, it does make it quite easy to line them up. And you could do more than two if you wanted to, or you could do a happy birthday sentiment as well, because there's lots of room to go all the way across on your sentiment if you choose to. But I think I'll stick just at that. So to create the little banner ends, I am going to find the center point on this short edge, and I'm just going to snip in about half a centimeter, I think, and then cut those little triangles out. So that's just cutting from the corner to where that snip is. And the same on the other side. Find the middle of where the 1.5 is and cut in about 1/2 centimetre, and then it's cutting the little triangle from the corner to that end point there. Now the reason I do it this way is because you can then create a nice even banner. I'm not sure if you've had experience in the past. I have many times when I've been trying to cut a nice even banner and haven't done it that way. I've ended up with a really short banner. Okay, so my banner is going to go along my card there. I'm going to use some Stampin' Seal. So that will position almost to the end of the crushed curry die cut. And I'm going to try to line that up nice and straight. And it finishes just off this white circle. I think you can see that a little better there. Okay, my next thing I need to do is to cut out my little turtle. So with this particular card, all of the turtles that are in the kits have come from the same piece of paper which has all the music on it, just so that just a slightly different theme. With each of these sheets of the designer series paper with the turtles, you could make multiple cards just by cutting out the little image on the designer series paper. Some of the dies I believe coordinate with this, but the fussy cutting on these are pretty easy. And this is just a way of getting a bit more versatility and use out of some of your products without having to spend a whole lot of extra money. Some stamp sets and dies I get instantly, but others, if it's just really cute designer series paper, I'll just get that and see how I go and see what I can create. So I think you've got a good designer series paper and a sentiment stamp set. You are pretty well set for most of your card making needs. Okay, almost done. And again, I'm not going to worry about cutting into some of these other little bits. They're just a little bit too fine in there. Trim that little bit up. Okay. So again, as I mentioned, this card is particularly flat. The only dimensionals I have are underneath the turtle. So I'm going to go ahead and put some of those on. So with some of the other images, with the music ones, I actually can't remember what they were. It seems like a very long time ago that I put these cards together and put the kits together to send out. So I'm not 100% sure, and I can't really tell. Oh, let me have a look at the book here. So we've got the music one that I'm using now. We've also used the party one. Looks like you've got an outdoors turtle, barbecue or maybe the beach, and also, yeah, you've got a turtle on a bicycle. Yeah, it looks like that one is a picnic theme as well. So there's a few different themed ones to choose from. Okay, so I'm just taking the backs of the dimensionals off. And I think these cards with the turtles are so cute. You could use them for a girl or a boy. And turtles going on about there. And finally, to finish this card, I just need to put on my coloured pearls. And as always, the easiest way to get your embellishments off are just using the putty end of your take your pick tool and just slide those off to one side. And there we have the second card for tonight's class. So let me bring in the first one. So there they are, just there. So as I mentioned, with this paper, the Turtley Cute paper, find it on page 49 in the catalogue. It is really very, very cute paper to use, and I actually love some of the patterns we've got on the reverse side. So there's that bit of versatility to it. And as I mentioned earlier, I actually haven't purchased anything else from this suite other than the Designer Series paper because I can do a lot with that paper. So here are, again, the 2 cards that I've made tonight for the free class for May. For anyone so far who's placed an order of $75 or more, of course, you have qualified for the free class for June. So there'll be something, of course, different coming out, as there always is each month. But I'll be choosing another new Designer Series paper to share with you because we've got some really beautiful ones in the new catalogue. That is all I've got for you for tonight. I do have one reminder. If you're around on Saturday afternoon between 2 and 4 p.m, pop down to the West Traralgon Scout Hall. I am having a biggest morning tea, but actually having it as an afternoon tea. So pop in to say hello and have a cuppa. I've got a bundle sale going, and also there'll be raffle tickets and things available for the biggest morning tea fundraiser. So hopefully I'll see a few of you there. So for those who are watching, Gay and Jody, thank you so much. I'm sure there's others as well, but I don't know who you are. But thank you for watching. I will be back next Tuesday with some more new stuff to share with you. So thank you so much for watching. Until next week, take care.